Welcome, 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 everybody. Thank you guys for coming out today. We have a beautiful stream today. Today, we're going to be diving into how to scale your business with systems. And I couldn't think of a better person to discuss that than my man Ravi. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring him on. I'll have him give an intro of himself. But today we're going to do a little Q&A. So if you guys have any questions in the audience, we'll bring those in as well as all the questions that I have prepared for him today. But without further ado, Ravi, my man, thank you so much for coming out today.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And thanks for everybody tuning in live. I got to say, dude, that was the coolest intro I've seen on a live stream that I've ever been on, dude. I was like,
Oh,
I
really?
was stoked to get on the live stream. I mean, like the colors, the music. Do you guys do that for everyone?
Yeah, every single one. Yeah.
Dude, I feel like a celebrity, dude.
It's
That was an entrance, man. I liked it.
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of an entrance, for those that don't necessarily or haven't heard of the work that you do or been hit by your ads every single day, what who are you and what do you do as for your living, I guess?
Yeah, man. Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate that. I get that all the time. Like I see your ads everywhere. I'll be walking down the street. What's going on, guys? My name is Ravi Abuvala. I run a company called Scaling with Systems. We essentially scale other companies by leveraging systems. We mainly focus on marketing and sales, but we'll also do like operations, organizational charts, client success, fulfillment, all of that stuff as well. But I'd say my bread and butter is really around getting more leads, clients, sales for our clients. We've been doing it for the past 4 years, worked with over 1,800 clients. We've generated for ourselves right around $27 million in sales. What else is there to know? Worked with some pretty big names, Jeff Seckinger, Jeremy Miner, Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. So we've had some pretty decent sized clients. I'd say our wheelhouse of clients somewhere between $10,000 and $40,000 a month. And yeah, I the other things I do for fun. I have my own YouTube channel. I have about 80,000 subs on that, and an Instagram account. So I post on there constantly. I'm sure we'll get into some of like the content creation, the reason why I do that a little bit later. And then I live in Miami, Florida, and for fun, I have my pilot's license. I bought a plane and got my license about 2 years ago. And so when I'm not scaling businesses, I'm typically flying my plane around somewhere.
I love that. That's awesome. Very cool. And what businesses do you typically work with when you're scaling them or consulting for them?
Yeah, I'd say the majority of our clients, like to work with us, you essentially need to be taking sales calls to acquire clients. That's
Hmm.
everything that we do is for sales calls. Typically, because when you take sales calls, it's typically more higher ticket. You're selling something above $2,000, which is really most of our scale will come from paid ads. But we don't just, it's not like ad to a video sales letter. I think those are kind of, that time is past. It's a beautiful blend of like organic marketing and paid marketing together in one. And we spend quite a bit on ads, but I also produce a lot of content. So in order to afford that, you typically have to be charging a few $1,000s at least to get somebody to get a return on your ad spend. But yeah, I'd say the majority of our clients, you definitely have to acquire clients through a sales call. And then 80% of our clients are either coaches, consultants, agencies, course creators, content creators, something along those lines, where once again, you're charging more money, you have higher profit margins. And so it's easier to scale because it's pretty ironic. Everybody's like, I want to scale, I want to scale, I want to scale. And then we put it in the systems and then the whole back end breaks, right? Because they've never had the operations or client success problem, which is a great problem to have. I don't really work with local businesses or e-commerce where you have to do like logistics and stuff like that because
Right.
I want higher margins and I want to be able to just explode my client's business.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's beautiful. And so you do a strategy where you're or leveraging organic media or organic social media with paid ads as well. Is that what you do for your clients, or is that just your strategy specifically?
Yeah, so it's what we do with our clients. It's kind of a funny story because it wasn't what we used to do for our clients. We used to be the big like video sales letter ad to a video sales letter. And for those of you who don't know, it's a video explaining who you are, what you do, and why people should buy your services. And for 3 or 4 years, that's what we did. No problem. Like I said, we've generated tens of millions of dollars for our own company doing it, and then quite a bit more for our clients. And that was working very, very well. But in the last like 6 to 18 months, there's just been a little bit of a subtle shift. And I've noticed that people are less trusting online right now. And it's not as easy just to throw up an ad and say, oh, we'll help you do this thing or your money back, and then get someone to book a call. We noticed that our show up rates were lowering, our qualification rates were lowering, our close rates were lowering. And this whole time, I was still posting YouTube because
Mhm.
I won't get into the whole story, but essentially in 2019, September 2019, we were crushing it on Facebook ads, and I got my account shut down. And so in order to kind of like revamp everything back up, that's when I launched my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And over the few years, YouTube and content was just this like extra thing that happened over on the side over there. And the
Yeah.
main thing was paid ads to a video sales letter. But all of our best clients, all of our highest paying clients, all of that stuff came from YouTube. But I was like, I don't know what it was. I was like, oh, whatever. Like YouTube's like, that's what I do for fun. This is ads, is how I grow a business. And then when I noticed that this shift happening in the marketplace, I actually did some research on it. And there's something called the General Social Survey. It's the
Mhm.
largest trust study done in the world. And right now, currently, in the past 2 years, we're at the lowest point of person-to-person trust in the last 40 years in the United States, right? So I wasn't just feeling this, it was actually documented. And so I was like, okay, well, how do you build trust with people? You build trust with people through exposure, right? The reason why you trust your parents and your friends is because you're exposed to them a lot, and they've
Right.
delivered for you over and over again. And so running an ad where you're running a 60-second ad to a 10-minute video sales letter and then expecting people to buy from you, it wasn't working as much anymore, especially when people didn't trust it. So that's a really long-winded way of saying like, okay, if I knew that content was the way to get people to trust me more and thus book a call with me and close, then I needed more people to see my content. But I don't feel that the organic way of growing, it's not fast enough for me. If I'm just being I guess the easiest way to say it is it's not
Right.
fastest. So we spend about $2,000 a day on ads across YouTube and Instagram and Facebook that have nothing to do with conversions and just have to do with getting people to watch my videos. There's no calls to action on anything. It's just getting people to watch my videos. And then from there, we're able to turn people that already know, like, and trust us into book calls, sales, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's the same system we use. And that's the same system that we help build and install for our clients.
And so you literally just send traffic to your YouTube videos?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's we run traffic to the YouTube videos and to Instagram posts that we have, and then we use that as what for. I guess everybody here is probably a marketer, so that's top of funnel, and then we'll use middle of funnel for all of our conversion campaigns, and
Okay.
that small change just exploded our business because I was before I was top of funnel direct call to action, and I was
Mhm.
getting calls, but I was getting calls for like $800. $900 because we work with a little bit more of a qualified person than most people do. Um, and these are qualified calls. But now that we're doing this middle of funnel, we're getting calls for like $80, $120, and they're showing up, they're closing, they're like, yes, I want this thing that I know Ravi sells because I know who he is, et cetera. And then even stuff like this, I'll get on podcasts with other people. And then we'll take this, we'll chop it up, and then we'll send it to our email list. We'll host it on a web page, and we'll send it out to there in an email automation sequence. So everybody's kind of getting inundated with my content, both top of funnel and middle of funnel.
Beautiful. And just this is just a curiosity thing because I had an issue with this, but you've never had an issue with like YouTube restricting you or banning you because you're sending traffic from an outside source? Because I had an issue with that because I was sending traffic from my agency community that I had like 3,000 people in, and I was sending it to my videos every time I posted. And then YouTube was like, "Oh, you have too much traffic coming from a place that we don't know where they're coming from," and banned.
Wow. I've never heard of that. We have an email list of almost 280,000 people. And every time we do an email, we send it out to them. I do it in my stories. I've literally never heard that. But as somebody who has gotten screwed over by multiple platforms and for no reason, I can appreciate that. But no, I've never seen that happen before.
Oh, interesting. Okay, very cool. Yeah, I was just curious if it was like one of their things that they commonly do or what
I think
because
it's interesting because like they have the ability in the analytics to see external sources, and then you can
yeah.
see so like obviously they're letting you track it. So I don't know what I have seen before is that every once in a while I'll get a message and it says like this video, your what's it called, AdSense is less because of invalid traffic. And so I think that what they're probably trying to do is avoid you like hacking the system and getting a bunch of people
Like
to watch
paying for
ads. And then
traffic, yeah.
exactly. So I've seen that happen, but they never said anything. They just said like, hey, it's invalid traffic.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. Okay, well that's good to know because I had to I quit my other YouTube channel and then started a brand new one like a couple months ago just because I was and then I've just been super careful with sending traffic to it. But that's
Oh
good to
no,
know.
yeah, you don't want to lose the account, obviously, but yeah, I think you'd be fine. And like even for us, we're trying to find more ways to have things linked to my YouTube channel. So my Instagram, the email, it's almost like this little like web of
Yeah.
content is what we're doing right now. And I think a lot of people do have that, but I think another thing that people aren't doing, and if you're watching this, you could find value in this, is I just don't think they're spending enough money top of funnel to get new people to watch. So like we exclude anybody that's ever heard of me in the top of funnel. So that $2,000 a day, it costs us about 12 cents to get somebody to watch my YouTube video. So I don't know what the actual math is, 2 divided by 0.12. So it's about 16,000 new people to watch my videos a day that have never heard of who I am before, right? So
Hmm.
like if you just can just constantly do that, then that middle of funnel, which is what most people are used to, like doing calls to action on their Instagram story, calls to action posts, like all of that stuff, that you just start yielding so many more leads, calls, and sales from that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, top of the funnel is super, super important. That's one of the things that I tell people is like the positioning and the authority that you have to give yourself is like 80% of the work. It's to get 80, like 90% of the results. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting. So like I talk about this in a YouTube video as well, but most people, so when you say results, you're probably talking about sales, right? You're like, how do
yeah.
you actually get calls and sales? Like, so most people I hear, I don't know why, but like even our clients, it's like sales, sales, sales. I have a sales problem. I need to learn sales. I need to be better at sales, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, sales is like the absolute, that's the last thing
Hmm.
that you need to be looking at.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, um, marketing should be doing 90% of the work for you. If you're getting on a sales call and they're like, so who are you and what do you do? And like it, almost like you would kind of say, like, introduce yourself to me. And I'm coming and explaining myself. Obviously, I don't have a whole lot of frame in that if nobody's heard me before, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's what a sales call is like. So if I try to sell somebody on here, they'd be like, dude, I just figured out who you were 2 seconds ago. So instead, if somebody, let's say, for example, had been watching my content for a very long time and then they saw this video and they got a better understanding, then they booked a sales call, it'd be a way higher chance of us closing them. But
Yeah.
I think most people mix up marketing and sales. And so I think that if you can make marketing do 90% of the work for you, and I define 90% as like they come in, they know who you are, they know what you do, they know what your unique mechanism is, what makes you different than your competitors, then the sales is irrelevant. You could have a
Yeah.
terrible salesperson still close deals. I don't even think I'm that good of a salesperson, I'm being honest with you, but I rely on my marketing, which is way more scalable, way more leveraged. And that, so you said like, yeah, that top of funnel and the positioning, couldn't agree anymore with it. And like another part of it, I know I'm ranting a little bit, but just hopefully people are finding value. Another part I see that there's a mistake is that when you are doing marketing and when you are creating this content, it's inconsistent. There's not congruency with top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. It's like you're talking about all this random shit on your Instagram or your YouTube, and then your video sale, you might even not have a video sales letter, or you have multiple different things you're talking about here. So then they're coming on all from different sources. So if you can kind of, we call it a sales copy blueprint, but if you can kind of just get everything consistent from the top of funnel to the bottom of funnel, then it's going to make it way easier because people are getting the same message from you over and over and over again. And so they're going to get on the call and be like, oh yeah, you're Ravi Abuvala. I watched a bunch of videos on the self-sustaining funnel from you. I know you've worked with these guys before. I want the self-sustaining funnel in my business. Like, let's talk about that. That's way better than like, who are you and what do you exactly do? And then you're kind of
Yeah.
starting from scratch.
Yeah, I always tell people that when they get to the sales call, they basically just need to be sold. I mean, like you said, you could have a terrible closer, but if your funnel is good, then it doesn't ever matter. And people often think that they do have like a closing issue or that their closer sucks. It's like, no, you're just not positioning your leads properly for success.
Exactly.
So when you're going through the top of the funnel, obviously that's when you're just going for kind of awareness, education, having them consume your content. Do you do lead magnets or different things like that as well, where you give out free PDFs or free communities or something like that? Or is that just your main
Yeah.
strategy?
No, we definitely do. It's funny. Like a few years ago, so one of our values in our company is simplification and systemization. So it's
Hmm.
like if we can simplify things, we will. So in the past, it was always just like add to VSL. I didn't want anything more complex than that.
Yeah.
If Past Ravi knew what future Ravi was doing today, he'd probably have a heart attack, because we just do a little bit of everything right now, to be honest with you. And I know that might overwhelm some people here. They're like, oh, you need to be simple, blah, blah, blah. But it works really well for us. And once you do get set it up, it is actually very easy to manage. You just need to know how to set it up. But yeah, top of funnel, we run lead magnet ads. We run like awareness ads. Then we'll also run low ticket ads. So we spend quite a bit of money on low ticket products. Actually, some huge names buy our low ticket products. And then we also have community ads. So I have a membership site called Scaling School, where I like show people that want to learn how to scale their business, do it yourself. I show them how to do that there. It's like all of our playbooks. And so we're running all of these ads. And the reason why I like low ticket and communities for top of funnel is because, once again, I'm not asking them to get on a call and buy something for $10,000. I'm asking them to buy something for $37 that's worth like thousands of dollars. And then they're kind of in the SaaS world, it's called product-led growth. They're kind of ascending on their own without me having to shove more ads in their face. They're just buying our stuff and then being like, oh, wow, this is legit. Let me see what else they have inside of there. So that's almost another way of getting that exposure with them. Like if you look first principles, it's like, cool. But the great thing about low ticket and community is like we're 0.7, 0.8x ROAS on some of them, which is really fantastic. So I'm spending, let's just say for easy numbers, $2,000 a day. And I'm getting back, before we do anything else, $1,700, $1,800 a day, which just allows for more infinite scale.
Beautiful. I love that. I mean, one of the questions from the new trend down here is they're also asking, like, what about low ticket info products or paid communities? Do you have some insight on that? I know one of the things that you run ads to that I was looking at in your ad account was you run it to like it's like a 97 or something offer with a like a Mifki with a bunch of free stuff and then a paid community for a month, right?
Yeah. So we run two different like low ticket self-liquidating offers right now. And we have like, I think we have 4 ad accounts on Facebook, unfortunately. But that's what I'm trying to like do the math in my head. So the low ticket for one of the self-liquidating offers called Show Up Secrets. It's
Uh-huh.
$37. There's 2 order bumps, each of them, I think it's like $16 and $97. And then we have the OTO of that is to join our membership site, Scaling School. And then the OTO of that is an annual membership site as well, or annual of that membership site.
Okay.
And then we have another one, like you said, Mifki, most incredible free gift ever, which is like the membership site, direct sales to the membership site. And that is direct to the membership site. Then there's an order bump to unlock a new class. And then the OTO for that's our annual, which is $873 a year. And then we don't have another OTO after that because I'm trying not to just like smash things over their head whenever they're coming through the funnel. But both of those are working very well. We're actually haven't figured out which one's the better one because I'm trying to like simplify it down. But the low ticket's working really well to get people to ascend into the high ticket. But the average order value is not as high as the direct to membership site thing is. But the membership site has a higher high ticket, but the cost per acquisition, I think, because it's a recurring thing, is
Mhm.
higher than it is on the. So it almost evens out a little bit. But overall, I might be going over a bunch of people's heads, or they might be jazzing out on it. I don't know. But overall, I will say I just had my team leader meeting right before this. I do really love the membership site thing because right now we're doing it's like anywhere between $3,000 and $7,000 a day just in either new membership site sales or recurring revenue sales. And so I just told my marketing director, I said, whatever we're getting in from the membership site, you just spend that right back out on ads. It's literally
Mhm.
in the door and out the next day. And so we're pumping ads pretty hard right now. And I can already start to see this flywheel effect of like, okay, that just brings in new membership site people. And then, but we also have the high ticket running at the same time. So like, I'm just breaking even on that entire membership side. And then I'm really cashing in the checks on the high ticket side of things.
Beautiful. And so so for the paid community specifically, do you do a lot of top of funnel work for that also?
Yeah, we'll do both low ticket and for the paid community. I'd say that most of our top of funnel right now is the low ticket and not the paid community
Mhm.
because of like what I said before. The low ticket includes the paid community as an OTO inside of that, and we're still getting high ticket sales from the low ticket. Where what we've noticed is the membership site works really well. it, no matter what you do, it will somewhat cannibalize your high ticket, right? Because the people are getting a lot of the same value they get from you from a high ticket.
Mhm.
I show people, we can talk about that, how to create a product suite so it's not the same thing. But so like as of right now, if you're indexing for purely a high ticket sales, I think that low ticket with a membership site backend is the way to go. If you're indexing more for just membership site and then maybe high ticket sales a little bit later on down the road, then direct to membership site seems to be the move for that.
Okay. And so you don't even run like, oh, am I paused? Hold on. My
I
video. Oh, there we
Yeah,
go. I'm
there you
back.
go.
So for the if you had for your like 97, you don't really run any top of funnels for it. You just run straight to sale for the ads.
What do you mean?
So
Sorry.
like you mentioned that one of the top of the funnel things that you do is you run traffic to your face to your YouTube, right?
Yes.
If you were doing just a paid community, because I think what New Trend is wondering or asking about is like how if you had just a paid community, how would you kind of scale that
Oh,
up with paid ads?
I would do exactly the same thing that I'm doing. Everybody that's watching this should be running traffic to your socials, whichever
Hmm.
one that you're using, because that's just going to create what's known as a middle of funnel audience, which then you're doing like our middle of funnel for our low ticket and the membership side is like a 17 or an 18x ROAS on that, right? Because they already know, like, and trust us. So we're crushing it inside there. And running conversion ads top of funnel, as you know, is pretty expensive. The
Yeah.
CPM is going to be a lot higher. So we're kind of hacking the system a little bit where we're just running mostly engagement, whatever, top of funnel, and then retargeting the middle of funnel. So I think every person that's watching this, if you have a business, no matter what, you should do top of funnel, discover like awareness ads to middle funnel, and then run your conversions middle of funnel. And then if you're just like super hungry for scale, whatever, you can also run it top of funnel for the conversion ads, which is what we're doing. But that's only like 30% of the budget. 70% of it is for awareness ads.
Okay. And so when you're running these top of the funnel, are these generally to like Iman's strategy where they're like VSL YouTube videos, or are they just like educational, informational? You just send them to a bunch of different types.
Yeah, it's a blend. So we were originally just doing it to our. So I have one main video on my channel called the self-sustaining funnel: how we book 20 plus sales calls a day, and we were mainly running it to that. But I did a test for a month, doing that in a month with the blend, and I actually saw lower cost per view. And then the other metric we look at is what's called cost per earned view, which is how many people watch another video after they watch your first video on there. And it was way lower when I kind of gave them a plethora of videos to choose from. And if
Mm-hmm.
you think about it as well, all I'm trying to do, and this is a great lesson for everybody that's watching this right now, paid should only look to just increase what's working organically or whatever you're already doing. Like, paid is just going to get you more of what you're doing. So a lot of people are like, oh, my sales funnel doesn't work. Or it's like, okay, well, it probably wasn't working before and you just thought paid was going to solve it for you. So
Right.
paid just gives volume to what you're doing. So when I think about if I'm just trying to get volume to what was working on YouTube, it wasn't that every single person was coming in and watching one video on YouTube. They were coming in and they were watching 3, 4, 5, 6 videos, and then they were going to watch maybe the main video and book a call to speak with us. So we do a blend of all, but of course I choose the videos that I think are like, they're all, I mean, all of my videos on my channel are like 40 minutes to an hour and a half. They're pretty long and pretty intensive. So, but I choose a blend of them, some on client success, some on operations, some on
Mm-hmm.
marketing, some on sales. And so, but they all kind of point to one main one. And then that points to the video sales and that obviously points to booking a call to speak with us.
Beautiful. I love that. That's awesome. So I'm guessing you're probably getting a lot of stuff even organically without people even seeing your ads.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I also, in the description I put in the links to the membership site as well. So we're getting a
Okay.
lot of membership sales coming in from that, which is just helping us once again liquidate the ad spend. And it's funny because I'm a huge data guy and a huge attribution guy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a little frustrating because you can't pin one to one that like this
Yeah.
spend is going here. But we have a pretty intensive like P&L every month, and there is a almost direct correlation with how much money I spend on these awareness top of funnel ads and how much cash we make as a company. It's like I've seen it this whole year. And so I just at the beginning of this month and this quarter, when we had a quarterly meeting with our team, I was like, okay, we have a minimum amount of money that we have to spend every month on this top of funnel awareness stuff. Like, and this is the daily budget that you have for it. And so that way we can just continue to scale that and build that middle of funnel audience who knows, likes, and trusts us a little more.
Beautiful. I love that. And then as they scale and as they get through, so as they get through the process of the funnel, and how do you set up or position a sales call once it's actually booked? Like obviously in the middle of the funnel, they're going to, your traditional VSL and they're booking a call, or they're buying one of those low ticket items and then being upsold to a call or something like that. But how do you position yourself properly for that call so when they show up, they're ready to buy?
Yeah, what an awesome question. So the first is definitely the video sales letter on the booking page or the page before the booking page. Um, you nailed it right there, but just so that other people that are watching get more context, like no matter what you do after somebody books a call, if you don't have the frame and the context before they book the call, then nothing's going to make save that sale after they book the call, even the best closer in the world. And also, one of our main goals that we have for our sales team when we consider somebody a marketing qualified lead, there's a few things like they have to be at a certain revenue level and a few other things. But the main thing is that they have to come in wanting our specific solution. So they need to literally be saying the word self-sustaining funnel on the sales call, because it's so much easier for the salesperson to close a deal when they're coming on the call and they're saying, hey, I want the self-sustaining funnel for my business, which is what we call all of this stuff all together, just easy
Hmm.
phrase that we created, right? So when they say that, we know that it's going to be an easy sale because that lets us know that they've watched the concept beforehand. They know who we are. They have the framing, all of that stuff. So it really starts on the actual video sales letter page by getting them bought into the one thing that we're going to do for them.
Yeah.
And then we have two types of calls, right? So one of them is going to be the regular sales. We call it a roadmap call, which is they're coming in saying, I want this self-sustaining funnel. One of the best things I ever did for my business, I did it in October of last year, was I removed all the words free consultation. And so I
Hmm.
no longer say on the main funnel, I no longer say free consultation. Oh, just book a call and we'll talk about your business. Like now it is book a call if you want this in your business. And just to give you guys some numbers, I told you we're a data person. In Q3 of last year, our average dollar per call, so this is how much money we make per every single time a sales rep speaks to a person, was hovering around $3,000, $3,000 to $3,500. This month to date, we're at $6,600 per call. So every single time a sales rep, doesn't mean that they close. It's just the average of the cash you're collecting and the calls that you're speaking with. We're more than double it. So our sales efficiency has shot through the roof because we're no longer getting people who are like, yeah, I just like want to talk about my business and like get a little bit of understanding of what you guys do. It's like, no, only book this call if you guys want to speak with us.
Yeah.
So that's one call we have. And then the other call that we have, so we frame it with the video sales letter. I can get more onto how we help with show up rates and all that stuff if you want to. And then the other one we have is actually a consultation call, but that is only for people who purchase a low ticket. So
Right.
I don't want free people that are doing the consultation call. These are low ticket people. And there's a theory called the theory of constraints. And I'm sure you know what it is, but for people that don't, it's like you just ruthlessly constantly identify whatever the biggest bottleneck is in your business, and then you work to solve it so that you scale, et cetera, et cetera. And so I have a video that acts as a video sales letter where I'm walking through my version of the video of the theory of constraints. So it's like
Hmm.
a 40-minute video, and I show all the different aspects of a business and where it could be. And then I say, if you want us to identify your constraint in your business, then go down below and book a call and book a theory of constraints consultation call with us. So it is quote unquote a consultation call, but still there's a video sales letter, because in that video, I also say, and at the end of the call, we're going to show you what constraint that you have and then what we would do to fix it. And you can either take it and run it yourself, or we can do it for you. And so I still frame that this could be a little bit of a sales call. And typically the first calls I talked about, the sales call with the roadmap call that has the VSL, those are typically one call closes, and these are typically two call closes, right? Because we are doing some consultation work with them, and then we're saying, they're like, oh yeah, I want you guys to do this for us, and then we set up another call later on. So I don't know if that answered your question. But.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And Sean had a question going back to what we were talking previously, so I'm just going to take it back real quick. Where would you start from scratch when creating this content flywheel? What's the highest priority for you?
Yeah, excellent question. Every single time, without a doubt, I would do YouTube. YouTube is exactly where I would start from scratch for a few main reasons. I'll cover them very quickly. First of all, you can't really convert off of short form content. You can't convert high ticket sales off of short form content. You can a little bit, but like I said, so Google did a study a few years ago. They analyzed billions of data points, and they figured out that on average, someone needs 7 hours of content across 11 touch points in 4 different locations to turn into a buyer. And the truth is if you need 7 hours of exposure and you're doing it through 60-second clips, That's a lot of freaking 60-second clips you got to get to this person to buy from you, right?
Yeah.
So YouTube allows you, if you guys look at my channel, our average video is 40 minutes long, right? So so I don't even know, people tell me it needs to be 15, 10. I don't care because I know what I'm using it for.
Right.
So by doing YouTube, you can focus primarily on long form content, which is really the stuff that's going to explode your business. Even if you think about people like Andrew Tate and probably even Luke as well, what do they do really well? They go on a insane amount of podcasts, like an unbelievable amount of podcasts. And so then people are watching them for 1 hour, 2 hours on each of these podcasts where they're kind of showing them who they are, what they do. So I love YouTube. I always start there because it allows you to get the exposure that you need to convert people. It acts as video sales letters. But then the other reason I like YouTube is because it's very easy to take long form and turn it into short form, right?
Yeah.
You can just chop it up. You can find locations. You can get tweets out of it, all of that stuff. It's a lot harder to do short form to long form. And I've done them both. I have an 11-person media team. I've done all of it, I promise you. But I love starting with YouTube as the solid foundation of things for all of those reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Michael had a question. He said he's starting a appointment setting agency doing cold outreach. Curious your opinion on how sustainable and scalable you think it is. I guess my guess is with the cold outreach method.
Yeah, and is it he's starting an appointment setting agency doing only, so is the appointment setters doing the cold outreach for them, or
So appointment setting agency is it's like kind of like what Cole Gordon does, but for appointment setters. So what he does
yeah,
is,
well, no, I got that. Okay,
yeah.
all right. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great offer and it's definitely scalable. I guess the question is, like you said, is cold outreach scalable? Um, in my personal opinion, I think cold outreach should only be to get you to the point that you can run paid ads. I don't think that if you're trying to do cold outreach at a massive scale, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's so easy once you get ads down to make money with ads. It almost
Mm-hmm.
feels like you should be doing more work for how much money that you're making. Like I had to tell myself, like, stop trying to break things, just like let it happen. Cause it's like you're just so used to creating chaos in your life. And that's how you got to where you are, that as soon as money starts to become easy, you're just like, I gotta create chaos somewhere. Anyway, that's a little deep-seated psychological thing that I'm dealing
Yeah,
with.
we'll
But
talk about that later.
but it's relevant to emails because it's the same thing. It's like you're I think emails is great when you're first starting. You don't have a lot of money. You can validate it. Like I said before, ads is just going to get you more of what you had. So email
Mhm.
is a great way to validate the offer, the funnel, all of that stuff. But at a certain point, if you are not taking that money you're making and testing it out in ads, you're really shooting yourself in the foot because you're always going to be second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place. And it's always a million times harder. And just even on a sales side of things, in sales, there's something called framing. And it's essentially when someone gets on, talked about it earlier, right? Whenever somebody gets on the call, essentially, are they coming to you? Are you going to them? And so if you're doing cold email, you're essentially going to somebody and you're saying, hey, you would be great to work with us. You should work with us. You should really come over here. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. You have no frame in that, right? You're
Mhm.
begging this person in so many words to work with you and become a client. In ads and in content, you have the frame. They're coming to you. They're going inbound with you. So you can say stuff like, hey, only book a call if you want us to install the system. Cold email, you have to almost always say, we'll do a consultation call. Let's do a free website audit. Let us show you how this works, because you have no frame. You're essentially trying to trade something for this person for their time. But whenever you do inbound through paid ads and organic marketing, then you can have the frame and you can cancel calls and you're not so reliant on begging people for business.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, ads is when you figure out how to do it, it's like it seems like it, like you said, like it shouldn't be allowed with all the work amount of work that's required. I remember when I was starting my agency, for like the first 6 months, I was doing cold outreach, and I think I made it to like 30K. The month I turned ads on, after that 6 month period, I made it to 100K the next month in MRR,
That's
and I was just like,
exactly, yeah.
well, this is too easy. I've spent 6 months sweating and grinding my face off, and then immediately just to triple my income just in 1 month from turning on an ad. So
Some could argue though that you probably learned all the skills from the 6 months to be able to crush it
true.
with you. So like we'll find the silver lining in it for you. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
it,
Yeah,
it's necessary, I think, but definitely, yeah, validating your offer first, and then punching the ads and learning how to do those.
exactly.
Um, so show up rates. You said we could talk a bit about how to increase those show up rates. What's some of the strategies that you guys use?
Yeah, so not to sound like a broken record, but most of the time, low show up rates have to do with the content side of things than they do the actual, like all the technical aspects. In July of 2023, our show up rates had plummeted to 30%. And when you're spending the amount of money that we're spending on ads, and you have the payroll that I do, it becomes it's pretty annoying, and it's pretty costly to have a show up rate so low. So I did a analysis of 16,000 sales calls through Hyros and Calendly, and I looked at the attributions, and I learned a few different things, which I'll show you guys. I'll talk about inside of here. But by and far, like I said earlier, the vast majority of people that actually showed up the call at some point had consumed some content from me, mostly from YouTube. And if I excluded out of the 16,000 sales calls, if I excluded everybody who never went to YouTube compared to the people that did, the people that actually went to YouTube, I had an 88% show up rate. The people that visited YouTube that had at one point clicked on a link inside my YouTube description versus the other people there. So a lot of times when people say I have a bad show up rate, it's because they treat if they book a time on the calendar, you're counting that as a call, right? Where in reality, I'm going to talk in a little bit about you need to be separating that out more. So the first thing is that you need to have some things we talked about earlier. You need to have inundation. They need to be going through a few hours of content before they book a call. They need to know why they're getting on the call. They need to value the call. So they need to think that, wow, this is worth my time, because instead they could be watching Netflix, they could be talking to their girlfriend, they could be going on a walk, they could do 10,000 things, and they're instead spending the time to speak with you. So you need to make sure that they're excited for that. And the only way that you can do that is by pre-framing the call beforehand. The video sales letter, a strong video sales letter, can do a lot of this stuff for you as well. So that's and consistency. That's congruency. That's another huge thing for it as well. So if they're confused, then they're not going to show up to the call. If they think that you are going to sell this one thing, but then you post about this other random thing over here, they're going to not show up to the call. They're not going to buy. So that's all before we even talk about the booking the call. When they actually book the call, here's a few quick tips that I've learned based on the data that we researched. First of all, ironically enough, the less reminders you do, the better. When I booked a call to speak with our company, I kind of secret shopped our company, if you will, to see what it was like. I got 18 reminders in 3 days across text, emails, and then the appointment setters and the salesperson. I run the company, and I didn't even want to show up to the own sales call. I was like way overpowering, and it was like it also kind of removed our frame. It made it seem desperate a little bit for the sales call, right? Too many. It's an inverse relationship between the amount of reminders you do and the show up rate that you have. So we brought it down to 3 reminders they look personalized. We use ChatGPT from the salesperson, and we ask them to respond back. So it seems like a legit thing directly from the salesperson, calms everything down. The second thing that I did is I've talked about trust a lot in this masterclass. If you had to take one thing away from here, it's that you need to ask yourself, how much trust does your prospect have with you before they're booking the call? And so what I realized was that majority of people that are booking a call to speak with us, they have a lot of trust in Ravi Abuvala, because I'm the face of the brand.
Right.
So then when they book a call and they get it with one of our sales guys, like let's say Dominic, they're like all stoked about working with Ravi, and then they see your calls with Dominic, right? And so all of a sudden there's this like, well, who the hell's Dominic?
Yeah.
Were you saying something?
And then they're like, "Oh, you're not who I wanted to talk to."
Exactly. And I know some people that will put their name in the Calendly to make it seem like they're speaking with them, and somebody else shows up. But we have a value of radical transparency, and so I don't want to lie to somebody, and that's a real slight that I don't think is a great way to start a client's experience with you with. So instead, what we did was, in that first email that we send out to prospects when they book, when we calm things down, we created something I call the transfer of trust video. And that's actually a video almost exactly like you and I right here. It's a Zoom call that I uploaded to Loom. And so let's say you were my sales guy. I would, let's say you were Dominic. I'd be like, hey, what's going on? It's Ravi here. I saw you just booked a call to speak with us about scaling your business. We're super excited to speak. I wanted to introduce you to Dominic here. Dominic's been working with us for over 1.5 years now. He used to have his own multiple 7-figure business in the e-learning and coaching space as well. And he's even helped us implement some marketing strategies that have helped us scale our business. And so you're going to have a great call together. Dominic, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself? Dominic tells him about himself, and then he kicks it back to me. And then I say, great, well, Dominic's looking for. So now I've transferred all this trust that I've built with the prospect from my face to at least some of it going over to Dominic. Yeah. And so now they almost feel guilty if they no-show Dominic, because like I've now told them that it's like a referral from me essentially.
Right.
That's been massive for us. That's been absolutely huge. The other final 2 things I'll give you. And I do have a product called Show Up Secrets that goes in all of this stuff at way more depth. But the final 2 things I'll say is We also used to send them a bunch of videos, a bunch of case studies, a bunch of testimonials before they got on the call. Same thing with the amount of amount of reminders. There was an inverse relationship. The more content we sent, the less likely they were going to show up. And I know that you're saying, well, Ravi, you just said they have to consume the 7 hours of content across 11 touch points at 4 different locations before they book the call.
Yeah.
Okay. If they're booking the call and you're trying to convince them why you're the right person, it's too late, my friend. Exactly. So instead, focus on one video. So we just have one video we want them to watch before they get on the call. We just send it's the only video on the thank you page. There's one more 70-second video I'll talk about in a second, but it's one of the only videos on the thank you page. It's the only video we send them email, text messages, and that's just to make sure they watch that before the call so they can say, I want the self-sustaining funnel on the sales call. And then the final thing that we did, and this is something that when I extrapolated it out, we had a 98% show up rate over 16,000 sales calls for this one thing, which I'm going to give you guys right here. And it's simply the people that responded back, yes, that they were going to show up to the appointment, right? So sometimes we would have the appointment setter send them a message, or sometimes the salesperson would. So I changed it, and now they book a call on the thank you page. There's a 72-second video, and I pretty much say, we're excited for the call. You have to respond back yes to the message, or we're going to cancel your call. And then that's the first message that goes out from our salesperson and from our goes out from our salesperson, and it says, hey, respond back yes to this. And so if we can get more people to respond back yes, then we know that they're going to show up. And then if we get people that are not responding back yes, then what we can do is double book them on the calendar. So we know that people don't respond back yes. There's a 50% show up rate. So what we'll do is we'll put one person who didn't respond back yes and the other person who didn't respond back yes on the same calendar for the same closer. And then there's a chance that only one of them is going to show up. So then we just take that call and the other person essentially goes to us. So that way we're making the most with the 8 hours of sales calls each closer has a day.
That makes sense. That's beautiful. I love that. And then through the sales process, so now they're on the sales call. What's kind of your structure for or your philosophy behind like the actual sales call?
Yeah, so Jeremy Miner is a client of ours, so we're actually big fans of his NEPQ. So we
Okay.
kind of follow a good bit of that as well. But and I won't even talk. I'm not even the most qualified. Like I said, I'm not even that amazing at sales, if I'm being quite honest with you. I'm just really good at marketing. I like to say that our sales calls are slam dunks because of how good the marketing is, but then our salespeople always tells me that they're not, and that I need to show them appreciation. So I will say that they work very hard for us. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what the framework that we follow is. I don't. I have a sales team leader and then salespeople that follow it. I know the stuff that I do and what I do from stage and whatever I do on a one-on-one call. But the majority of our sales calls are just they're just objection handling, and they're going through the process of what we do. It's like just much more detail of what we're doing. It's not this long-winded. They're not reading from a document. It's not this whole thing. And that also kind of goes back to that trust being at an all-time low. Like, because you got to think, I'm selling to agencies and coaches and consultants. So if I go on there and I'm like, use Sam Oven's script from 5 years ago, like they've heard the same fucking script 40 different times. Like they know exactly what I'm about to say. And it actually lowers my frame with them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So instead we literally just have a pretty honest, I'm almost positive we don't have a sales script. We just have a pretty honest conversation with them. And then we explain what we do. And then we handle any objections and we see if we can close the deal.
Beautiful. And so now you've scaled, right? So you have all this scaling, and then obviously one of the things that we talked about before we jumped on this call is that you help people a lot with operations and stuff, because things break after you scale and after you start getting more business. And what are the things that you see break the most and the solutions for those?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What are the things I see break the most? I would say the first and foremost is assignment of responsibilities, and understanding of the organizational chart. So that's like, if everyone's watching this video, if you don't have an organizational chart, that is one of the best things you could ever do for your business, hands down. Even if you're a one-person company, and the rule is you'll write out every single seat that you'll eventually want inside your company. And if you're doing that role right now, you just put your name inside that box. So even for our company, I'm the CEO. And I'm also underneath our creative director. I'm the content creator. So I work for the content creator inside of our company because I create content for the business. If someone's like, we need more YouTube videos this week and they're not getting done, they need to know who they come to, which is me. It's my fault that that's not happening. So as you scale and you start getting a few dozen team members, it's like it's so funny because when I was first starting out, I was like, I never want to be corporate. Like I hate corporate. I left that life. But then you realize there's a reason why these businesses make billions of dollars a year, and I've been around for hundreds of years. I kind of figured it out. So I was like, okay, what can I take from there? And I think meeting cadences and organizational charts so that you can manage team members, those two things will save your life. There's an incredible book called Traction. I
Mhm.
recommend everybody read. There's also, I have a great video on my YouTube channel called The Secret to Scaling to 25 million plus, where I walk through our entire operations framework around meetings. I think would be also helpful as well. But organizational charts, huge, assigning responsibilities to that, meetings. And then the last thing I'll say is values. And values is also one of those things that I was like, dude, I'm just trying to make $1 billion. You can shove your values up somewhere else, dude. I don't care about values. This is not a flu thing. But then when I actually understood what values are for, so values are essentially decision-making frameworks for your company, right? And so if you think in your company, if there's all these decisions that have to be made, you're relying on somebody else's quote unquote character to make that decision and to do it the way that you would make that. But if you really boiled it down, you need to make sure you guys share the same values. And if you share the same values, then they should be making the same decisions. So it's how you scale decision-making frameworks inside of your company. So I wrote down the 5 things in my life that I love about other people, and essentially the inverse is what I hate about other people.
Mhm.
And then those became the value of the company. So I hired my first team members around that. Then they hire team members around that. And then those people eventually, third layer of management, will hire team members around that. So for example, one of our values is extreme ownership, right? So that means that there's a little definition that I wrote down, but complaining excuses will not be tolerated. So if I get on a meeting with somebody and they know something's not done correctly, when I get on that meeting and I see it's not done, I'm like, why is this not done? Instead of having to listen to a 20-minute reason of this person give me excuses of why it's not done, they literally just go, I didn't do this because I didn't do this. This is my fault. It'll be done by this time next week. I'm sorry, right? And that's it. And that's over with, right? So that way they're making decisions. And same thing, another value of ours is client centricity. So we're not obsessed with clients, but we do put clients at the forefront of all the decisions that we make, right?
Mhm.
So by using that as well, we're able to have our client success managers make decisions about how we help clients. Like, oh, this person wants to set this thing up. We don't necessarily offer it, but because we value client centricity, you don't need to ask me if we can do it. Just go ahead and do it for the client. It's going to be that
Mhm.
easy. So building some kind of decision-making framework like that in your company through values, I think, is another huge bottleneck that people have.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. That's the questions that I have for today. The last thing that I always end off with every guest, it's a very agency centric question, so I'll reframe it a little bit for you. Um, but I always ask for 3 different pieces of advice. Sorry, yeah, 3 different pieces of advice, but to 3 different audiences. So the first audience is people that are just starting off their business. How do you recommend them to start their business, to get started? How do you recommend them to get to that next level? The second piece of advice is for people that are maybe around like the 100K a month range and they're hiring teams, they're scaling, they're already doing paid ads, etc. And then your advice for them. And then the third one is for people that are, if you don't have experience in an exit, for people that are either wanting to exit or if you don't have experience in the exiting phase of like people that want to build like a mammoth business that's doing 10 million plus a year.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. This was awesome for sure. Great way to end this. So the first people that are just starting out, as starting their own business, they're getting started, et cetera, et cetera. I one thing I wish that I learned a lot earlier on was the power of leverage, and like understanding leverage at every single decision I make.
Hmm.
And so leverage is essentially where you put one thing in and you get 2 things out or 3 things out or 5 things out. And so a lot of what I did in the beginning of my business, I did a lot of unleveraged things because that's what a lot of people told me to do, right?
Right.
A beautiful example of unleveraged things, cold calling, cold emailing. These are all very unleveraged things. And so you can do it to start, but if you're consistently, every time you need to make a deal, you're having to send emails out, et cetera, it's not very leveraged. You're having to work. And sure, you can hire somebody, but it's still not very leveraged. So I think if I was just starting out, and this is really what I do for every single business now, I have a portfolio of companies, is I look at what's the most leverage opportunities, right? How do I add leverage in everything that I do? And so if you can do things where you can do it once and it lasts forever or it lasts for a while, I'd always do that. So a few examples, a YouTube channel, like I talked about earlier. I create a YouTube video one time and then it just constantly, I have videos that I made 3 years ago that are still getting me tens of thousands of views every single month right now from search results. So
Hmm.
like that's a great way of leverage. Another way would be ads, right? Instead of me spending my time on cold email and cold calling, I'm spending some money and I'm getting more eyeballs same amount of eyeballs I would have gotten, or probably even more, but instead I'm changing money. So always, so even your offer, right? How leverage is the offer that you're selling your clients? Are you able to leverage up? Are you able to add in a back end offer? Are you able to lower your cost for the offer, et cetera, et cetera? So that's the first. For the 100K plus a month that are scaling, I would say understand the operation side of things, like I talked about. It's the most unsexy part of the business, but man, like it's funny. What got to you to where you are right now is probably the same thing that's keeping you from going to the next level that you need
Yeah.
to go to, and that's always the thing that holds you back. For me, it's marketing. I love ads. I love marketing. That's how I got to where I am right now. But if I always am the main marketer in our company, then I am literally holding the entire. If I'm always the
Hmm.
main content creator, I'll always be holding. So the only way I can solve that problem is by hiring great talent and by scaling, right? So I would figure out operations, spend time to identify. If you don't have an operations manager or director, go out there, hire one, buy the books around it, watch some YouTube videos, figure out how do you make it so that you can scale without you being involved in the process. Decision making frameworks, KPIs, dashboards. It's the most least sexy thing of anything that you'll do inside a business, but it's the only way you can really scale because you're going to need team members. You're going to
Yeah.
need help in order to scale. Um, as far as the exit side of things, you're right. I've never done an exit. I do have a portfolio of companies. So the only thing I'll say is ask yourself if exiting the business is actually what you want to do, and ask yourself if instead you could maybe build a business that you can remove yourself from and you're essentially an investor in, and it runs without you. I've probably spoken to 2 or 3 dozen people that have sold businesses anywhere from $5 million all the way up to, I don't know, 300, $400 million. And I don't think, maybe 1 or 2 people have told me that they thought that selling the business was a great idea. They almost all of them don't necessarily regret it, but they don't know if they were in that same situation if they would do it again. And that kind
Yeah.
of reframed my mindset around it as well, because I was always looking for an exit. But instead, what do they say? Well, rich people, I don't know, like buy high or buy low, sell high, and wealthy people never sell. Right? That's wealthy people never sell. If you have an asset that's producing cash flow, never sell it. I'm not the best in the world for that answer, but that is something I've learned from other people.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, Robbie, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it because I know that it is valuable. Where can people find you? Where can they watch more of your content? And send you any questions if they have those, or consume any of your content or buy any of your products. Where can they find you?
Yeah, of course. So thanks for having me on. This was awesome. I hope people got some value out of it. Like I said, I'm pretty consistent on YouTube. I have over 1,000 videos on YouTube, so you can check
Beautiful.
that out. It's just my name at Ravi Abuvala. Also Instagram. If you did watch this, you can shoot me some questions on Instagram. I'm on there every single day at Ravi Abuvala, RaviAbuvala. If you do want some of the things and products I've talked about before, our website, scalingwithsystems.com. Or if you want to join our little membership community that has a lot of this stuff, you can go to scalingschool.com. It has like all of the playbooks and pretty much everything I've talked about are inside of there for $97 a month.
Beautiful, my man. Really appreciate your time once again. Thank you so much, and we'll have you on in the future again.
Awesome. Sounds good. Appreciate it. See you.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for coming today. That is the conclusion. I will see you on the next one. Once again, many of you will watch, but very few of you will actually listen.